Hey, thanks for joining us here on the Coach for Life podcast. Here on the show, we talk with coaches who have not only had great success on the scoreboard, but have also had long-term success helping their players win in life. Coach, you have an incredible opportunity to make a lifelong difference in the life of your players. Don't miss it. Our guest today had the importance of family impressed on him early in his career. The effects that social media have on today's athletes. Coaching players that have been let down time and time again. We're talking about all of that and much more with our guest, the current Gadsden Times Coach of the Year, Coach Ollie Smith. Over the years, Coach has had access and learned from some of the biggest names in coaching: Sweeney, Tuberville, Muschamp, Smart, and Saban. Coach Smith is committed to building a program that impacts his players not only for a season, but for life. Titan level stuff today, so let's get to it.
You know, I've been to the NFL draft with Dre Kirkpatrick. Kids are wanting the likes. I told people a long time ago, you can't say daddy ball.
You're making an impact in the community.
Coach Billingsly would fire you if you miss something for your kids. I just want kids that want to be there. I want them to come in that building every single day, looking to work and trying to get better.
All right, our guest today on our podcast is the head coach of the Gadsden City Titans, Coach Ollie Smith. Coach, just to talk a little bit about you, your team has improved each year since you've been there. Back-to-back region titles. Last year, 9-4. Advanced to the third round of the playoffs. You're awarded Gadsden Times Coach of the Year. Well done, Coach. You got it going on.
Well, appreciate it. Hopefully we can continue to keep it going on.
So, Coach, tell us about you. You know, you've been involved in sports all your whole life, I would guess. So,
absolutely.
What was it about athletics or sports when you were a child that you knew, man, I like this?
Well, I'll tell you, growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, we all, you know, everything, every sport, whatever season it was, that's what we played. If it was soccer, baseball, basketball, we played everything, man. And so for us, I guess growing up, that's all we knew were athletics. We running track. We out doggone doing races in the neighborhood.
Right.
We had different types of teams that we would, you know, in our neighborhood on our street, we'll go play the street below and different things like that. So for us, it was a big deal. And I just, you know, with my dad and my uncles and everybody, we really are big athletic guys. And so it's just in us.
Just part of you.
Yes.
Why, Coach? What drew you to the profession, and when did you know this is what I got to do?
Well, I tell you, I was at Alabama State, and as I coming out of there in '97, I was, you know, wanting to go into criminal justice. My minor was physical education PE, and my deal was I thought I wanted to be in the federal law enforcement or something like that of that nature, and I actually went over to Curry High School and watched Emma Sampson. My brother was a freshman playing football, and they were in the first round of the playoffs, and they ended up getting beat. And I met the team after the game for a post-game meal, and I'm sitting in there, and my old assistant principal, Mr. Ben Pilitary, was in there. And he asked me about, you know, what are you about to do? And I told him I was about to be finishing up, and I'm going to be looking to find a job in some area. And he said, well, why don't you come help us coach? And I'm like, coach, you know, and so I'm like, really? So then the head football coach, Alan Lee at Emma Sampson at the time, he reached out to me, talked to me a little bit, and I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Then I get a phone call from my old football coach, Mr. Terry Harris, and we all talk. And I came up from Montgomery to talk to all those guys. And a guy, he passed away. He played at Emma Sampson, Mr. Doon Terror. We call him Doon Terror. His kids was playing. And he said, man, it'll be good to get us a young guy to come back to help. So I said, okay, good job experience. I'll come back. I said, I'm going to get a year. I'm not coming back to Gadsden. I'm going to get a year of job experience. And then I'm going to go off and figure it out. Well, man, I got out there, and I come in, and I talked to Coach Baker. He was still there as the basketball coach, and I had played for him. Well, I come in that summer, and I started working around the kids, get into the season, and we have a pretty good team. I think that was probably one of the best teams I've been around, and that was back in '97. But, talking to those guys, I got out here and got involved with it. in football that year. It was a great experience. We rolled into basketball with Coach Baker. I helped him in basketball and track. And I'm like, man, this is pretty neat. And the rest is history, man. I didn't look back. I'm like, I'm not letting it go.
Yeah. That's I think a common story with a lot of coaches. I didn't really intend to go down this road, but once I did,
absolutely,
never look back.
Absolutely.
So just tell us about your career a little bit. Where all have you been, and how did you get to where you are now?
Well, for me, I've been at home in Gaston. For 26 years, I don't feel like I've gotten up and gone to work. And, I was at Emma Sampson for 9 years, and I've been at Gaston City the last 18. I worked at Emma Sampson. I coached football. I coached basketball. I coached track and field. When we went over to Gaston City, initially I was going to coach football and basketball, and then we realized the scale that it was on, and I was like, hey, we rolled back, and I just coached football. And initially, and so at that point, you're talking about 6 head coaches that I had worked for. I felt like I was a career assistant. That's what that's kind of what I had intended to do. I really didn't had no intentions of being a head coach. I've enjoyed just being a defensive coordinator, kind of doing other things. I was coaching track and field, a head track coach at Gaston City. So it's a good experience. So that's where I've been. For me at Gaston, I just feel like this is home, and it's been a great opportunity for me.
You mentioned a lot of the mentors you had, the head coaches that you worked for, basketball, football. Any other guys that helped shape your philosophy or the way you approach things?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been really blessed to have met and got to know a lot of coaches in the coaching ranks from college to high school that I really think that have done a great job. Been around Coach Saban, met Coach Tuvable and Saban, those guys back in the early 2006, 2009 time. We had some really top players, the Dabo Sweeneys, Kirby Smarts, Will Muschamp. Those guys were open books to me. They were really, really kind to me. Wow. And so I think those guys, Charlie Strong, don't want to leave him off, but those guys really opened the door for me to help me with like defensive football, a lot of different things. But with getting a chance to know them, the core of value for the guys that I think shaped my coaching career is the 2 guys I played for in high school, and that's George Baker and Buster Gross. I tell people that, I've been to the NFL draft with Dre Kirkpatrick and got a chance to say hello to the commissioner of football and different things, but everybody, I can sit and listen, but I think back to a lot of things Buster Gross and Coach Baker both would talk to us about growing up, and I hold those more than anything.
So at any level, coaches understand the impact that they can have on young men lifelong.
Absolutely.
Impact.
Every day. And I think that when I talk to some of my former high school teammates, man, we talk more about Coach Baker and Coach Gross, some of the funny stories. Just the other day, Oscar Malone, one of my former teammates, he called me, and we were sitting there last Saturday talking about something that Coach Gross did to us on the football field.
Never forget that.
No, you don't. Those are lifelong.
Yeah. Coach, you just listed coaches. If anybody that knows anything about football have heard of every name that you mentioned a while ago and know something about them, but so you've been around some great leaders. Give us some thoughts on leadership.
For me, I think that leadership has to be consistent, and you can't be scared to make tough decisions. You just got to be fair. As a leader, you got to be consistent and fair. You can't be scared to make tough decisions.
And you don't have to apologize for being consistent and fair, do you?
Absolutely not.
Great. All right, Coach, it's a little bit different, but the best player you ever coached against, and maybe the best player you ever played against.
Well, I can say this. Playing against, you could talk about in high school, Orlando Waters that went to Arkansas. You could talk about
Aniston. Was
Aniston,
that right?
absolutely. Him and Stephen Christopher and those guys. And I remember I had a guy, cornerback, Donald Blackman, and we had one of the real good coaches, defensive coaches. I think one of the greatest defensive coaches mine, I'm talking about high school and college, Robert Nichols, Coach Nichols. Man, he was pretty dang good. And we had a good plan, we thought. And Donald said, man, we can't slow these guys. Hey, I'm finna cover my guy. I'm about to blitz. And I'm like, man, you can't do that. Hey, well, he was blitzing anyway. We just we start making it up. But anyways, you talking about Steven, Christopher, Orlando Waters, those guys playing against.
Coach, you've been at this for a while. During your career, how have players changed, and how has it changed the way you have to deal with them? Or has
it? It's changed, and it's changing daily, weekly, monthly. It's different. The biggest thing is it's the me, the why, and you have to show them. And right. I think that the biggest thing is having to show them. One of the things, you got so much social media. Kids are, so many people, and I can't just say kids are scared to fail. And nowadays with social media and different things like that, kids are wanting the likes. And so when you don't get likes, they feel like they're not doing something right. And then sometimes parents want to make sure their kids are getting the likes. So you kind of have to show them, and hopefully that they're learning to develop, and they're not scared to fail. So, that's the biggest thing. Kids didn't mind not being the guy years ago.
Yeah.
But nowadays, everybody kind of want to be the guy. They want to be the guy because of social media. They just got to get those likes.
Yeah.
So those things, it definitely has changed.
That's definitely something we didn't, when we, you're
yes.
a few years behind me, but
Absolutely.
we didn't have to deal with that for sure. But,
absolutely not.
So what are some positives to the newer way of doing things?
Well, I tell you, I think it's good for exposure for kids. They you can see them more. I think that more people connect with them by using social media, different things like that. And some of them not as shy as they used to be. Kids would be really reserved because you could kind of see personalities in some of the stuff that they do social media wise.
Coach, challenges, unfortunately, anybody that coaches, you deal with student athletes that come from father deficient homes.
Yes.
What are some challenges there, and how big of an impact can not just you and your program, but coaches anywhere make in the life of a child that doesn't have that fatherly impact?
Well, we talked about consistency earlier.
Right.
All right. That's the biggest thing, and they got to be able to trust you. I tell our coaches all the time that, when you come in, I want you to be hard, fair, and consistent with our kids. And if they trust you, you can open a door, because some of our kids just don't see other things. And they may only know one thing. They may know that someone told them they was coming to pick them up at 6 o'clock and they didn't show up.
Right.
Well, you can't tell them something or share something with them and make them think, I tell our coaches, don't promise a kid that you're going to get him in. Hey, I'm going to get you in there tonight. I'm going to get you to try to get you 5
right.
plays or something. Well, you don't know how the game or anything going to play out. So let's don't do that, because we don't want to set a kid up and get their hopes up and then let them down. And I think that that's some of the things that we, when our children have been let down so much, that we have to be consistent with them, and we have to be honest and open with them, and don't sell them dreams and make them think something that's not there. And I think that for us and for me, what I try to do with the adults and children that's around us is try to be as consistent and open with them and honest, so that they can understand that they can trust me and come to and talk to me about anything. And hopefully that down the road, they'll understand that impact right there.
I think a lot of times the kid, maybe the parent, they want that college scholarship or whatever, but they expressing to them, man, there's a lot of good things to get out of this besides that.
Absolutely.
That will last you a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Tell us how your faith shapes the way not only the way you live your life, but the way you coach, or that you approach coaching.
Well, I tell you, my grandmother was the oldest of 15, and I like to say it's all by the same man too. Hey, it's all under one family roof. But
oldest of 15.
Yes, the oldest
Wow.
of 15. They grew up in the Catholic Church, and all us grew up in the Catholic Church. We all went to St. Martin de Porres Catholic School over off 8th Street, by way of Tuscaloosa Avenue, back in the 80s and 90s until they closed. And for us, it was just, the being tight knit as a family, going to church, kind of staying true to who you are and not, kind of hiding who you were. We went to a private school, and we grew up in a regular neighborhood where a lot of people was going to public schools, and you could get picked on for that. Well, we didn't hide who we were. We wore our blue khaki pants and our light blue shirts, and we walked to and from school, and we passed guys going to the public school. So we didn't hide who we were, and we wasn't ashamed of who we were. And so I tell our kids, and I try to tell them, don't be ashamed of who you are, where you come from, what you have or what you don't. Because regardless of what mom have, what dad have, auntie, uncle, granny, or whoever, you are writing your own story.
Well, Coach, this may be redundant, but what is the bedrock of your program?
Well, I would like to say loyalty, trust, and dedication. That's what I would like to say, and I'm going to say that is because that's what I'm going to give to everyone that comes through the door. And I like for them to return that, whether it's the coaches, the players, the trainers, the filmers, and I tell them when they come out and they, we meet with the young people that want to be trainers or managers, and we tell them, if you want to be, you can't just show up on Friday night. You got to be consistent, and you got to be here. So we got to be able to trust you, because you're gonna be able to trust us. You got to be loyal. You got to make dedication. You got to you got to dedicate yourself to the program and to the season. You just can't. We gonna practice on Labor Day, so you got to be here now. So those are the things. So I hope that all our kids feel like that everything is open and it's a family atmosphere. I tell our coaches, I don't want, I have a wife and daughters, my mom, my aunts, all of them, they come. And I want them to be able to walk into the building without me having to run and say, watch somebody's coming. Hey, this person's coming. No, every day our building's an open building. And so that's what I hope that it is. And that's what it better be.
Coach, you had an opportunity to coach your own son.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Man, it was a great experience. Now, for me and guiding him and molding him and being able to be with him on a daily basis, riding to school with him, and sometimes it get repetitive. And I had a guy I worked for one time as a head coach, and he is like, hey, man, it's going to be tough. Those guys, those kids, they may get mad at you and they be talking about your son, and it could be tough on him. Yeah. And he said, and I said, yeah, it could be. And I thought about that for about 30 seconds. And I said, because I'm going to coach every kid like he's mine. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm going to take mine home with me, but I'm going to coach him. I told people a long time ago, you can't say daddy ball. I feel like my son was one of the best players on the team, but he didn't actually really get to play a ton until his junior and senior year. He really took shape as a senior, but he didn't really get a lot. But I felt like we was developing him and gave him a chance to play when it was his time. And I tell people if they come in and say, I just think they getting overlooked, I said, no, we ain't overlooking, we gonna develop. I said, if my own one didn't play early, it's going, because I really feel like he was a really, really good player. Man, he's a good student, and man, it was an awesome experience.
So how were you able to separate coach and dad when you got in the car on the way home or when you met each other at the house?
Well, I tell you, like I said, I don't feel like I'm going to work.
Right.
And so when I go to my job and I'm watching video and I'm working, and I will say this, I don't know if he do it nowadays or not, but I did take this years ago from Coach Muschamp when he was out at Texas. I went out to visit him. We took a couple of our guys out there, and I stayed at his house. And I was like asking him, how do he come home with it? He's like, we don't do no ball at the house. And so when I remember him saying that, and I've talked to a lot of other coaches, you talking about Coach Haley, and I forgot when I said Brick Haley, I've talked to him, certain things you leave it. So when I'm driving home with him, hey, we going home to eat, and we gonna go home and we're gonna be a family. We know we're gonna lead the coaching. Now they may go to bed and I may get right back up and start working on ball and doing stuff. But my wife is a nurse. She ain't really a big athletic person, so she's gonna be at the ball games and she gonna cheer for her children. But if I was talking ball to him at night, she'll probably shut it down.
Yeah, You mentioned your wife. Anything you'd like to say to her as far as a coach's wife it's a unique calling? You kind of drug into this a little bit.
I have to tell her I appreciate her, and I have to for putting up with everything, with her and my mom, because I say sacrifice equals success. Every time we have a banquet, anything, I have to really thank those two, my mom and my wife, because my wife and mom, like my daughter, my baby girl, we started over. She is in K5. My wife, I've taken her to school this entire year probably twice. And that's because you have to leave so early and do things. My wife, she's a nurse. She works in Birmingham. And so she has to drop her off and then get gone. So, she makes a lot of sacrifices. And my mom picks her up in the evening. And I say sacrifice equals success. And so our family is a team. And my wife and I, we work really well together. So we kind of organize, and we have to look at the schedules and say, hey, we working here, you working there. And during football season, my wife will scale back on working some so she can make sure that I get a chance to JV games, middle school games, because she know that the passion that I have for her. And I say that without her saying, she see the hard work that I try to put in to it.
You mentioned coaching your son. What about when he was I can remember my kids being on the field, when they could walk.
Yes.
Having to move them out of the way so they get run over. So you had a similar experience with that around the program?
Absolutely, man. And I'll tell you this, Coach Billingsly, best coach you could work for about your family. Coach Billingsly would fire you if you missed something for your kids or you didn't want them around. He would tell you sitting in there and say, hey, my son got a T-ball game or this is going on and you didn't go and you still in there. Oh, yeah, you going to get it. But I'll tell you what, my son, after every football game, he rode the bus back when we were out of town. He enjoyed that. Like all our former players, man, they see me now. They'll call me. Had one a couple of weeks ago say, Coach, I just seen Kamari. He's driving. Man, I remember he used to be on the bus riding back with us and those things right there. So, man, those are great experience. And I tell him now, like, he and I will still go catch a ball game when he's not playing or I'm not working. We'll go catch basketball or football somewhere, SEC championship. And I'll say, that's what we used to do, man. You riding to school with them and growing up, going coach them in youth league basketball. But, man, great experience. They're out there running routes. So I could go on for days on that one.
How do you think that relationship, your players getting to see you be coach and dad, especially when he's younger, they kind of adopt him and he kind of father figures to him if you
Absolutely.
What kind of impact do you think that has on your players?
Well, I tell you what, all my former players, that group, man, we try to keep up with all our kids, and they young men now, and they try to keep up with us. They stay up, they come around, and I see them all. They very involved with their kids. They do so much with their kids. Whether I see some of them helping with cheerleading stuff, band stuff, but the ones that have young boys now growing up, man, they're in their lives. That's one of our mission statements. We know hopefully that we can make young men into grown men to be great husbands and fathers, and that's the one thing that I could see. The vast majority of our players that has children, they are spending so much time with them,
and they've seen that
absolutely
from you and your coaches.
Yes, absolutely. Oh yeah,
outstanding, Coach. Obviously, you're looking for talent when you're building a team. I mean, you got to have that. But what other qualities or attributes are you looking for when you're putting a team together?
I'll tell you this. I go back to that LTD, that loyalty, trust, and dedication. I just want kids that want to be there, want that opportunity to, listen. I tell coaches this all the time. I was fortunate until I got to Alabama State. Was probably the first time I ever been on an athletic team, football-wise, that I didn't get an opportunity to like just play and be out there. But the biggest thing, I will run an adult off if we don't treat every kid with the same. I don't care if he's a 5-star or a no star. We're going to treat them all. I want them to have a great experience. And so the quality, I want them to come in that building every single day looking to work and trying to get better. I want to see the finished product, every day. When they come in, I have kids right now, 8th to be 9th graders. Some of them not very good. And I tell them, don't quit. I want to see you in 36 to 38 months from now. See how you finish up once you're done playing. Let's see where you at your senior year. Let's go through it. Let's get bigger, faster, and stronger. But I just look for kids that just want to play. And let's just go from that right there. Just want to play.
And how do you think it transfers to, they know you're investing in them. I get the sense from being around your program a little bit that they know you care about them, not just on Friday, but 5 years from now,
Absolutely.
10 years. And you mentioned kids coming back. That's a powerful testimony to what you've established.
Absolutely. Now, we talk about we're not making a 4-year investment in our children. When our kids come in our program, even in the middle school, we hoping that we making a 20 to 30 to 40 year, a lifetime investment. That when you get invited to weddings, you get invited to graduations, and you get invitations, and with someone they call and text you that they just had a newborn baby, or they even asking you to be a godfather to their children.
Sure.
Those are things when that, or you feel like, okay, we may be on to something. But every kid that come in our program, we don't want them, regardless of what circumstances they go through, we want them to feel like they could call us and lean on us. And for the vast majority of them, they do.
That's great. Coach, tell us a little bit about your dad.
I think that my dad, I tell people, man, my first year coaching, it was one of the roughest you can imagine. And I tell people, and he was like, oh, you going to be all right? And I'm like, listen, I grew up in the house with John R. Smith. And, my dad's my biggest critic, but my biggest cheerleader besides my mom. And I'm talking about he loved his boys. And we can't do no wrong. But he's going to tell you when you do wrong. He ain't going to bite his tongue. He ain't going to sugarcoat it. And so, for us, those are the things that with Daddy, he's going to be as open and honest with you as you can be. And that's the only way I know how to go, because, that's just how he is with us. You better have alligator skin when you go through the door. Daddy, 80+ years old now, and he don't sugarcoat it with me or my brother right now.
Still tell you what.
He gonna tell you. He's gonna be there every Friday night. He's gonna come down there and tell you.
Well, what a blessing.
Absolutely. He ain't gonna. If he ain't too busy at the church, he's not gonna miss the practice. He definitely not gonna miss a game, but he's gonna be around.
That's
great. Yeah, so we're not going.
Well, let me ask you this, Coach, and you feel free to take. So this is your minute. The whole time is yours. Okay. But what would you want to say to your dad?
Well, first of all,
you're just talking to him.
If I'm talking to Daddy, I just appreciate him being who he is and laying the foundation for us. And I tell people all the time, certain times you can say, well, I know this, I've been through this. Well, I can't say I had never been without my daddy. Right. I don't know anything else about being with Daddy. I can still remember being in the 2nd, 3rd grade, going to basketball games, because him and Coach Baker played high school ball together, and going to ball games during the middle of the week. And my mom lighting us up when we coming back, talking about I stayed out too late with him. He getting me in the bed. So, just him spending time being there. I can't, my dad is my guy. I just appreciate Daddy always being there, being there for us. You can't ask for a better dad, and I just, I just hope I can have him as long as I can.
That's great, Coach.
So, and I think that with Daddy and my granddad, my mom, dad, that all them, how they raised us to be men, it don't matter what you wearing, it's who's wearing it. Right. It don't matter what you drive, it's who's driving it. Those are the biggest things. It don't matter where you live in there. So, those are the things that Daddy, hey, just be the best you possible. Don't worry about keeping up with the Joneses.
What about, letting mistakes define you? A lot of times I think you just get to the point of wanting to give up. You just hang in there type message for.
Well, we not doing that. If anybody hasn't failed, show me.
Yeah.
You know, I got a little thing I tell all our kids this. You know, when they make a mistake on the football field, I don't want to hear my bad. Man, just go to the next play. Coach, we're not getting on a kid for making a mistake. You know, and I get a kid and he's tell me, he say, Coach, man, I'm sorry I made a mistake, this and that. No, man, we going to coach him. We going to teach you. Let's pick ourselves up, pull your boots up, and let's go to work. Let's figure it out, man. Because there's only one perfect person that walked the earth. Nobody's perfect. They may seem and think they are, but nobody's perfect but one that walked that I know of. And that's what I was brought up on.
Coach, we had some we got some players that are former players that wanted to say some things to you. And we just kind of want to give this to you as our gift, and thank you for participating in this.
All right. Appreciate it.
And then we'll close up after we watch this.
Okay.
Coach, as a mentor, a coach, a family member, a friend, and current advisor, you have done nothing but provide me with information that I can take and give back to my own team, family, children.
Coach Smith, football is more than just winning games and scoring touchdowns. It's about impacting the lives of young men. And for me, I can wholeheartedly say he's done different.
A coach, leader, father, mentor, educator. Coach Smith has been very impactful to my life in so many ways that I can't even list them all in this video.
Coach, you got any thoughts on that? That's powerful stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Those three good guys right there, man. Yeah.
Well, I just want to, again, I want to thank you, first of all, but I want to encourage you to keep, you're making an impact in the community, changing lives, families forever.
Yeah.
And it's generational. And, man, I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. Know that you got fans in us. I mean, we're pulling for you and wishing you guys the best over there, and hope you have a great year and maybe make the fourth round or all the way.
Absolutely.
But, Coach, can't thank you enough. It's been our honor. We appreciate you being a part of this.
Hey, thank you guys for just including us. We appreciate it.